G'day everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing a step-by-step instruction on how to wire up a pit bike engine.
Today we are working on this shifter cart that I just built, and if you want to see a video to this, you can click the link in the description.
Now this video is going to be set up in different timestamps, as you can see along here. So if you do have a specific problem you'd like to be sorted, go to that timestamp and you should find an answer. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get started for the wiring components.
The first component we have is a keyed ignition switch. Then there is a starter button along with the kill switch. Next up is the solenoid, followed by the spark plug connector, which is attached to an ignition coil. And there's the CDI box, which is the brains behind everything. And then the voltage regulator, followed by a big group of wires and connectors. So just toss all of it under the seat and we're good to go.
Okay, so all this is really simple. Here's our spark plug wire, so we're going to go put it around our spark plug. This ignition coil needs to be fastened somewhere, but we're going to do that a little bit later. So next up we have these 5 wires here, and these are the same 5 wires as the ones that are coming out of your engine. Now the colours may not always match up exactly, but the majority of them do, so that should get you out of trouble. So now that that's hooked up, we have this wiring mess down here. The best thing about this wiring is that you don't have to worry about half the things. So here's our starter. We're just going to put that off to the side for a little bit. We've got our CDI off to the side, voltage regulator off to the side. Now we have our key, also the key ignition switch off to the side. Alright, so we have 3 things left to work on: the solenoid valve, a grounding point, and your positive. And all of them are going to be sorted out with the battery. Here's our battery, just a standard 12 volt one. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our solenoid valve, we're going to undo the nuts on here, we're going to attach the positive lead from our battery onto here. And now on the other side, we're just going to do the exact same thing with the wire that comes out of the starter motor. So chuck that on there. So now we got our solenoid all connected, that can go out the road. So now we're left with the grounding point and the positive terminal, and also this grounding point up here. Now this grounding point can go anywhere on the engine. As long as it's connected to a little bit of metal, that's fine.
So here we're going to change the battery connectors to match my battery. So we chop off this connector, strip the wires, twist them together, add heat shrink and crimp on a new connector, then we melt the heat shrink. Since that works perfectly, we can do the same to the other wire and then give it a test start. The ignition coil needs to be mounted somewhere where it can be grounded, so the frame is the best option. I just drilled a 6mm hole and fastened it to it from underneath. I found this old battery holder outside, so I've rammed in some self-drilling screws into it to hold it down. Then I add some padding to the side which stops it from moving around too much. Drilled another 6mm hole at the front of the cart, tapped a thread for the light. Okay, so I've done a bit of wiring off camera. What I've done is I've fastened everything down. This one has a zip tie holding it down, this one has a screw, and that one is double-sided taped down. Double-sided tape is very strong, so it's okay. I've done a little bit of cable management to make it look all nice, and I've also ran all the cables in this tube. There's a lot of cables in there, there's a little view down there. Now, on my thing here, we have our ignition switch, then we have our gear selectors. They will all be wired in after we get the engine going, because I can't tell which gear's going where now because it's all very confusing, but I'll explain that soon. And this is going to be our little engine start button. It hasn't arrived yet, and this little doodad here is going to be our light switch for a light that I did mount up here, which you did see. So when we plug it in right down here, we can flick this little switch on, and there you go, it's lighting up the old car. That's bloody ripper. And I flick that off, turn that on, and we got a little temporary one here, which is just our normal one. Make sure it's off, and I reckon this is going to work. So now we need to hook up the fuel tank, hook up the exhaust, throttle, brakes. But if you want to see all that, you're going to have to check out the other video, which is already on my channel, on how I made this entire thing. So I'm going to quickly do that, then we're going to start up and make sure the wiring's all good. Alright, so I spent the last 2 days working on this electrical system because we weren't getting any spark. The only reason we would get spark is when we took it off the button
like right at the end. So we'd push this in, and then as soon as we let go, then it would spark. And we went through the entire thing. I completely disconnected the kill switch in case it was shorting on that. I went through and did everything. I had a look at everything, took out the stator, replaced the stator, replaced all the wires, replaced all these connectors, got another battery, hooked all that up, made sure our grounds are fine, just for this wire to not be fully connected into the CDI. So make sure if you do get a new kit that you check all these wires. We've just tested it all up now, and it does spark, so that's good. So it's time to put everything back together, and then we can start it up. Okay, so here's the aftermarket start switch we're going to use. And on the back here you see it has 3 prongs. Now if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that they have numbers on them. There's 1, 2 and 3. So to you start this, it connects from 1 and 2 when you push the button. So now we hook our wires up to that.
The yellow and red wire, along with the black wire, are the wires that are used for the starter button. So cut them and add new connectors to connect them to our new starter button. With all these lights on the dash to tell me what gear I'm in, they all need to be grounded, so I connect them all together and add the connector to the frame. These dash lights all have wires coming out of them, so I extend them all to the rear of the cart where I connect them to the gear sensor. The gear sensor's wires are laid out like this. Green and red is neutral, purple is gear 1, green and black is gear 2, blue and pink is gear 3, and the pink wire is reverse. That's my style of motor anyway. However, when connecting the correct wires to each other, the lights on the dash wouldn't work. I tested these lights and they work, so I believe that the gear sensor is buggered. So I have to replace that later. But even though mine isn't working, that should be how you wire it up to the gear
Now that the
sensor.
wiring on this shifter card is done, that puts an end on this project, and the only thing left to do is to take it for a test drive, and you're going to see that next video. So make sure to subscribe and stick around for that one. Thank you guys so much for watching, I'll see you guys next time.